delivering outcomes by aligning portfolio to program, OKR management essentially, or projects that line up with the organization and the strategic kind of goals for the organization. My name is Alex Homer. I get the pleasure of being your host today. I'm a customer success strategic program lead here out of the APJ region. We've also got Clark Fuller, who'll be running and essentially facilitating the session for us today. I'll leave him to do a proper introduction for himself in a moment. But before we get on to Clark and having Clark show us how to go about, what do we hope to get out of the session today? And that is, how do we track projects and portfolios by date, progress, and custom attributes? How do we capture quick insights? Dynamic projects with request forms, and advanced intake automations, and of course, how do we reduce the approvals bottlenecks? Now, we've got a customer of ours, one of our pretty proud customers, that is Ryan Ockelberry out of House of Design. Now, House of Design is a manufacturing technology company out of the States, and they came through with a number of challenges around, manual inefficiencies and processes. And so the team was just drowning in manual work and, eating up their time and resources. There's a lack of collaboration. Without a solid work management platform, teams struggle to collaborate effectively, leading to delays and misunderstandings. And there's a lot of disparate tools being utilized, essentially. And so they kind of overcame some of these challenges by utilizing Wrike's easily managing manufacturing processes, by standardizing their processes in Wrike and having a centralized knowledge base out of Wrike, and of course, having a central allocation of workload and being able to balance workload. The result meant that they were able to significantly cut savings of costs, and of course, about 16,600 hours saved over 3 years. So roughly 830,000 saved in costs there, which is absolutely phenomenal. Ryan Ockelberry, their COO, has said that before it would have taken hours to discern all the information, and now it takes about 10 minutes for our strategic decisions and backed empirical data. What we've heard from them is that their machine shop manager alone has been able to save 20 plus hours of work a week. You can now manage and track about 100% more jobs through the fabrication process. And of course, a lot of this is lined up with what they ultimately set out to achieve by putting together actual projects that lined up with what their strategic visions were. And they did that all by utilizing Wrike. So how did House of Design make that happen? Well, Clark Fuller, please, I'd love to hear from you and show us how to go about making this happen.
You bet. Thanks, Alex. Hi, everybody. As Alex mentioned, I'm an engagement manager here at Wrike, which means I work with some of our largest customers and help oversee their deployments. And appreciate the chance to go through this with you. Let me go ahead and share my screen here.
Over to you there, Clark.
Okay. Should be seeing my screen now. Okay, so this is a demo environment, and let me just highlight a couple things here. First is, if you want to take a look at the OKRs template, this has some interesting information and an example you could use to look at as you're building out your OKRs. So I clicked the green plus button here, went over to the space, and then within the templates here, you can search for OKRs and you'll see two templates pop up. This one on the left, if you click into that, you'll notice that it has custom item types. This is the one that is the more recent template. So I'd encourage you to take a look at this one. Now, for our purposes today, let's assume that we are a PMO office and we want to manage we've been given the charge to manage our strategic goals here, right, and our initiatives. So first thing is we want to create a request form that will allow our company to submit new initiatives. So we've identified 3 key goals for the company, and you see them here on the left-hand side. Increase market share, increase brand awareness, and improve customer retention. And we know that as a PMO office, we don't have all the best ideas. Those are within the organization. So we give folks a chance to submit new initiative requests. And they can do that by opening up the request form, going to the green plus button here, and then pulling up the request form. And you can, as you see the different items here, we've got the initiative name, provide a brief description, and then we'll start to tag that into some items based on their responses here, right? So what type of project is this? Is it who is the requesting department? In our case, this will be a customer success project for driving loyalty and retention. And how long will it run? What's your budget, etc. On the project methodology here, this is where we would coach the team and say, hey, in our organization, we use two different types of methodology, waterfall or stage gate, help them understand what that is so that when they make the request, they know which one to choose. On the back end, the request form will attach a blueprint based on that project type, so everything's built out. And then which overall strategic goal does this relate to? Now let's look at the back end of the form and see how that is set up. So let's come into, I'm going to start at the space level here, and let's go into, as an admin, I'd click the gear icon, come into the request forms area here, and open up our request form. And you'll notice a few things. One, you'll notice that this is on the new user interface. So if you haven't seen that to this point, I encourage you to check it out. On the left-hand side here, you'll notice that we've created an approval. So the VP of PMO, Michael, this person will get automatically notified whenever a new initiative request comes in. And that he will have 5 days to approve that. We've identified some next steps to happen in the workflow based on his response. And then coming down here on the right-hand side, you'll notice that we have the strategic plan question here. And based on their response, we're mapping that item into a particular folder so that we can organize our submissions. Also notice that we are mapping the value here to two different fields. This is a brand new feature that was released as part of the upgrade to the request form. So we're mapping the values both to the description field and to a custom field. So let me pause there. Any questions on that piece?
So far here, we've got one question that was, could you just go back? How did we get to that request form piece through the space again?
Oh, sure. Yep. So let me jump over here and I'll start at the beginning here. So you open up the space and then you have to be an admin in order to see this gear icon here, but you would click the gear icon and then you would see the request forms tab. Now the request forms here, these are what are called space level request forms. So admins of the space can see these and modify them.
Excellent. Thanks, Clark. I hope that answers your question, Dylan. And for anybody else in the room, please, we encourage you to ask questions as you go through. We'll stop Clark throughout the session and find an opportunity to ask them. So thank you, Clark.
Okay, you bet. All right, so we've got our request form set up here, and then we have it filled out. So let's go ahead and submit this. And we'll see that it added the product stars project here underneath the improved customer retention folder, like we had set up in the request form. And then it also put a notification because I'm logged in as the VP of PMO here. It added an approval notification in my inbox. So now I'm aware that this new request has come in and I have the opportunity to go in and approve this. So at this point, the PMO office would go through a triage process where they're identifying the different requests that have come in, ranking those, and they would make a decision based on those, right? So you could use the workflow here to kind of show the requesters where things are at. This is in consideration. It's approved to proceed. At that point, once it's approved, in this case, we would roll that into a program. So if we look at how the structure is set up here, let's look under our strategic plan folder. So we have the improve customer retention by 20% here. And you'll notice that if I hover over this, it shows that it's a custom item type of strategic plan. I hover over this one, and it shows that it's our objective. So underneath here, we have our various objectives. And then in this hierarchy, we've wrapped those initiatives into programs. So here's our customer-centric program, and we have the various projects underneath that. Now, let's talk about how we might manage those various initiatives. So there's a few different approaches. One is you can use a scoring method here. And in this case, we have three custom fields set up for risk confidence, value score, and size score. And these are number custom fields. So if I click the caret icon there and open up the field, we'll see that this is a number custom field. And in this case, it belongs to our space here. You'll see there's various different things I can do here in terms of the formatting, the aggregation, etc. So here's our three items that we're scoring the initiatives on. And then we have on the left-hand side here, we have a total score field, and this is a formula custom field. So I'll go ahead and edit this one. And we see that the formula is taking the values entered in risk confidence score and size score, dividing those by 3, and then adding them up to get a total score. And then we've got some conditional formatting applied here. So depending on what the value is, it will either, our score will be green, amber, or red. So let me pause there. Questions on the scoring piece?
Yeah, there is actually just one. Why are we dividing by 3 here, Clark? Help us understand that a bit better.
Yeah, it's simply because we have 3 different factors that we're scoring across.
Got it. So they just try to get the average out, essentially.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Thank you. I was just about to say that was a perfect segue because there was a question around how do you manage backlog or suggestions or score, I guess. So that was perfect. Thank you, Clark.
Okay. Yeah, you bet. So, and you can set this up according to weightings that make sense for your company. But this example will kind of show you how that can be done. Now, another way of tracking status is using the workflow status here, right? So for those at the program level, we have a workflow that allows the program director to come in and indicate a certain status. This is more of a subjective measure, but very helpful. We also can create automations around these statuses here. So for example, if the status changes to at risk, let's notify in this case the VP PMO. So if I go ahead and set that to at risk, then we'll notice that I have another notification up here in my inbox. Let's go ahead and open that up. And we'll see that I've been notified that that project is now at risk. Program was marked at risk. I can click this open and see the details. And let's take a look at how we created that notification in order to drive awareness. So here's the notification, and it takes us over to that program that was marked at risk. So the way we drove that notification was through an automation rule. So I'm going to go back here and go into the space again. So coming into the PMO1 space here and going in as the as an admin, clicking the gear icon. And here we're going to go to the automation tab. And we have a rule set up here: when status changes, then add comment and mention. And if we go ahead and edit that rule, we'll see that we're applying it to the entire space, but we're using the item type filter of our custom item type of program to indicate that this rule only applies to program objects. The trigger for the rule is when it enters a specific status. So in this case, at risk delayed. We could add conditions on here if that fit our use case. When the program has a custom field of priority, a certain priority, that sort of thing. So you could kind of customize your messages based on the type of initiative. And then what action do you take? So in this case, we're adding a comment to a specific individual saying, this program was marked at risk. Let me pause there. Questions on the automation piece?
Great spot to pause, Clark. There was a question on using custom fields for automations. I think, Tim, another one here. We had a risk custom field earlier. If the custom field changes to below a certain value, to notify or to change the status, I guess, if I understand that correctly there, Nathan.
Yeah, you can't do conditional logic around custom fields here in the automation, but you can do them based off values. So if your custom field, if it's a single select and it becomes a certain value, you could automate it based off of that.
Got it. Appreciate that. Thanks, Clark.
Okay. Any other questions? Are we good to go there?
Good to go there, it seems. And again,
okay,
for folks
excellent.
in the room, please, I encourage you all to keep chiming in. I feel like I'm getting the same kinds of questions here from the same individuals. So for anybody else in the room, we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so now let's talk about other options we have here for looking at the program and managing that. So let's come back to our strategic plan here. So we recently introduced a chart view. If you haven't had a chance to check this out, I'd encourage you to do so. So you can add it here, under your view selector. And the chart view is kind of a way to do some easy analytics. So you can indicate whether you're looking at tasks or projects. In this case, we have a task view here. What are we breaking by? We're breaking by assignees. How many does each person have? You can add some grouping options, filter based on custom fields, etc. We also have a similar options here for projects. So, what are the status of our projects? We could filter these down to projects that are of a certain custom item type or, that have a certain custom field value. So I encourage you to check that out. Let's also take a look here at our an example of table view. So if I come over to our first tab here, we're going to see a roll-up of the values based on the hierarchy. So in this case, we have our increased market share by 25%. And we see the hierarchical roll-up here. We see the status of those. And so this view here gives you an option for kind of, seeing how programs are rolling up based on the hierarchy. Go ahead.
Clark, I might jump in here. So I can see that we've got a status piece, and there's a question here on how do we track the success of a KR? Any recommendations on that?
Yeah, so there's different options. You can track it based on the status. So when you say success, we have some here where these are completed statuses. This was 90% achieved, 70 to 90% achieved. So that would be one way, would be to use workflow statuses. The other way would be to introduce a custom field that is a percent complete, so then the user's manually entering in percent complete.
And I guess if we wanted to, we could probably be pretty tricky about this one and say if it's 90% completed, we could populate a custom field with an automation to add that value in possibly as well.
You could through an integration. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Clark.
Okay. Very good. All right. Last thing here, and then I'll toss it back to you, Alex. So we have the ability to run some standard reports here. And I've got an example of a task-based report. So let me come over here to our roll-up report. And this is going to be a hierarchical view similar to what we saw in the table view there. And again, we're looking at high level, what is our objective here? What's the status? If we wanted to filter out items of a certain custom item type, we could do that here. And then, start date, due date, etc. So if you're wanting more of a traditional reporting view, you can look at a standard report here. Let me edit this. So this was created with based on tasks and subtasks, and then using our 3 strategic goals here as our data source. Okay. Let me pause there. Questions on that piece?
Nothing on that piece there, Clark. Seems to be okay.
Okay, very good. All right. Last item I'll mention here is if you're wanting to think about a project progress and rolling things up based on progress, that is something that can be done. You would want to think of that in terms of your tasks and have the items that you're tracking be task-based, as the progress percent is currently based around your tasks. So how many tasks are complete, that sort of thing. And with that, I will toss it back to you, Alex.
Clark, thank you so very much. Really appreciate it. I will ask you one question there. Sorry, just curved in. Being able to track, so you had those custom fields that you populated on the request form. Is there a way to be able to kind of track back on any of those or surface any of that information on the project? And how do we go about that?
Yep, you certainly can. So let me share screen here. So in table view, you can use your field selector here, and you can populate the items. So in this case, we had strategic plan as one of our items in the request form. So you could turn this on and then show that value for your projects.
Got it. And is there an easy way to be able to surface by specific strategic plans?
Yep. So if I wanted to filter this, I could click the all tasks here, go to the filters section, and now I can filter based on projects that have that specific value. So, show me all projects where the strategic plan is increased market share, etc.
Perfect. Perfect. Amazing. Thank you so very much, Clark. Any other questions? We'll leave it open to the floor here. Any questions from anybody at this point? Give it a minute or so. Yes, we do. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Your percentage fill was just a fill-in, or was the percentage pulled from a percentage value?
You can do both. Yeah. So you can have users manually enter a percentage. If you're doing a percentage pulled from the system generated, then that will need to be based around task items. So you would want to create your custom item types as task custom item types, and then have your percentage rolled up based on those.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much there, Clark. And that one, got another one on, is there a template for this that we can use?
Yeah, so we looked at that at the beginning. There is, let me jump back here. So when you go to create a space, you have the option of selecting a template. If you type in OKRs, there's this first option
Can't see
here on
your
the
screen
left-hand
just yet. Sorry, Clark.
Forgot about that. Thank you. So let's do that again. So you click the green plus button, go up to the space icon here. And when you are creating a space, you have the option of selecting a template. If you type in OKRs, the one on the left here is the most recent OKR template. You can notice that because it has custom item types as part of the template.
Beautiful. I hope that answers your question there as well. Any other questions? We'll give it another minute. Okay. Well, on that note, I'm going to hit share screen on my end. I think everyone can see that okay. Well, Clark, do appreciate you and your time going through that. Absolutely do. And for everybody in the room, thank you so very much for joining in and taking part of that. Of course, if you have any further questions, know that there is a team around you that can help you and support you. You're not alone on any of this. There is the Wrike support team. They're there to ultimately help you with any kind of help. I can't get in for whatever reason, or it's just not working for whatever reason. It used to work for me yesterday, but it does not right now. That's what our support team is there for. As well as then, there's a customer success manager that's there to help you see value out of the platform on a day-to-day. Of course, there's Wrike Discover. I'd hope you know about it because it's probably how you got here in the first place. It's our online learning management platform. Of course, there's our help page where there's an article on every single bit of functionality that exists in Wrike. Every little bit of functionality that you've seen today, there is a help article on. And of course, there's the community forum as part of that. The community forum is a great place to go if you want to learn a little bit more from other folks that might be in the same industry. If you want to share your best tips, suggestions, best practices, hear from other people about their kind of experiences as well. And of course, there's an account manager who's typically there from a logistics and billing perspective, but they're also there to help you put you in touch with the likes of Clark and, of course, our professional services team. If you've gone through the session today and you think to yourself, well, you're not quite confident, you're not quite 100% sure you can be able to set this up yourself, that's okay. You can engage with our professional services team to help you get this put together in your instance. They're there to make sure that the platform is working as efficiently and as effectively for you. They're there to make sure that the platform is efficiently collaborating for you. They're streamlining your workflows. They're there to make sure that you get the change management piece across properly. They can help you tailor training sessions and get your users onboarded with the platform. And of course, as part of that, see your return on investment as quickly as possible. We know that our professional services team gets you through Wrike, gets you utilizing the platform sooner, and makes it work much quicker. Clark, is there anything else there that I'm missing?
Nope, that's great.
All right. And I guess on that note, I wanted to say a big thank you again, Clark, for taking us through all of this today. Thank you, everybody in the room, for joining us. We appreciate you coming into the session today. And of course, be on the lookout for the recording of the session today. It will be up on Discover Wrike. Moving forward. Thanks again, Clark, and thanks, everybody.